Amy Lewis's little boy was happy and healthy as a newborn. But then a nightmare moment struck as he suddenly stopped moving at 7 weeks old. And now the devastated mom is unsure if he will ever take his first steps. Amy Lewis, 33, was heartbroken when, in September 2023, she received the shattering diagnosis that Nico, now aged 1, suffers from spinal muscular atrophy, SMA Type 1. This rare condition severely restricts movement, prevents sitting without support, and causes difficulties with breathing, feeding, and swallowing due to deficient levels of the survival motor neuron protein, SMN. As a devoted stay-at-home mom to Nico and his older brother Blake, who is 4, Amy was confronted with the grim reality that without medical intervention, Nico's life expectancy would not surpass 2 years. Despite Nico undergoing successful gene therapy, he has encountered significant health challenges, including a battle with respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in March 2024 that necessitated life support, and a scoliosis diagnosis 2 months later. Most nights I sit there awake with him just obsessing over his oxygen levels and hoping he's okay. After welcoming her youngest son, Nico, in June 2023, everything seemed normal, and he appeared to be a very happy and healthy baby. But at 7 weeks old, Nico started having difficulty with movement. Amy shared, "He was suddenly very, very unhappy all the time, and he didn't move. His arms weren't moving like they did when he was first born. His head wasn't really moving. He was just very still." During his 8-week checkup, Amy mentioned her concerns to the health visitor, who immediately suggested she contact her GP. At the GP's office, it was observed that Nico's muscle tone was quite low, prompting an urgent referral to the hospital. In the week leading up to their hospital visit, Nico began to gasp for air and cry after consuming only a small amount of milk, and he also suffered from constipation. Despite her worries, Amy tried to stay positive, thinking that perhaps Nico was just a bit delayed in comparison to his brother. Come September 2023, Amy was instructed to bring Nico to the hospital, where doctors decided to admit him for further testing. "The doctors were saying a lot of big words and medical conditions," she said. "My mom was really upset because they were keeping him in, but I wasn't even thinking, oh gosh, this sounds bad. There's no point in being upset when we don't know what's wrong." The day after initial concerns were raised, Amy and her best friend received the devastating news that Nico was suffering from SMA Type 1. "I heard of it, I think, when they initially looked over him, as something he may have, but I had no idea what it was apart from that," she said. "I thought, oh God, surely that's not what he's got, because he looked so healthy. He was born healthy. He was gaining weight." When they told me, it was all a blur and I was in a state of panic. In search of answers, Amy and her friend secluded themselves in a private room where Amy, from Cardiff, began researching the condition, only to discover the grim prognosis that children with Nico's exact condition rarely live past their 2nd birthday. "My friend told me to ignore it, and let's wait and see what happens. It was just a blur," said Amy. Nico was soon transferred to Bristol Children's Hospital for further treatment exploration. Choosing gene therapy, Nico underwent a one-time infusion of Zolgensma, which is designed to replace the missing SMN gene. Post-treatment, Nico showed remarkable signs of improvement, which Amy eagerly noted. "He has gotten stronger for sure, I think. After about a month, his back felt stronger, and before he could not hold himself up, and then his arms started moving and grabbing things." However, in March 2024, Nico faced another challenge when he contracted respiratory syncytial virus and required life support for a week. After a lengthy hospital stay of 10 weeks, Nico was discharged in May 2024, but with a new diagnosis of scoliosis. Since his diagnosis, Nico has had to adapt to a rigorous medical routine that includes wearing a ventilation mask every night, using 3 nebulizers daily, operating a cough assist machine thrice a day, and taking antibiotics 3 times a week. In addition to the constant medical attention where he endures being poked and prodded, there's the looming concern of potential heart and lung complications due to his treatment. Amy is now on a mission to secure better equipment for her son, including a bespoke back brace costing £3,000. She has launched a GoFundMe campaign with a target of £10,000, aimed at funding private physiotherapy and additional apparatus. She expressed her determination. "I want to get him the proper custom-made spinal brace, but that unfortunately costs £3,000. But I think it'll give him the best chance, and I've seen other children I know use them, and they're thriving." The future holds uncertainties for Nico. She shared her concerns. "I think the oldest child in the UK to have SMA and have the same treatment as Nico is 7, so it's hard to tell, and doctors aren't sure because it's such a new condition. But there's a very, very high chance that he won't walk, he will be in a wheelchair, or maybe he will be able to take steps, but that will be very far in the future. We don't know how the scoliosis will impact him either, because sometimes it can impact breathing. It's really hard not knowing.